Every second of every day, trillions of dollars circulate around the world. But have you ever stopped to think, what is this money really worth? This piece of paper holds no inherent value. It's not backed by gold, silver, or any tangible asset. Yet, it has the power to construct metropolises, ignite conflicts, and transform destinies. Most of us think we know what money is. We earn it, we spend it, we save it. But money, it's a system, a tool, a kind of magic. It's an illusion. It's not real in the way we think it is. We're merely agreeing to believe in it. So, how does this illusion become reality? Who is in control of it, and how do they pull the strings? Most importantly, what does it mean for you and me? Let's journey into an era when the concept of money, as we comprehend it today, was non-existent. An era when civilizations thrived without bills and coins. There was a time when cowrie shells signified wealth, when cattle were traded for goods, when barter systems were the lifeline of economies. It was a simple world, with a simple understanding of wealth. But as societies grew complex, so did the system of value exchange. From shells to precious metals, from livestock to gold coins, from physical barter to paper bills, the essence of money has transformed through the centuries. Gold. Gleaming, scarce, almost impossible to counterfeit. It became the ideal cornerstone for money. Nations hoarded it, bartered with it, flourished with it. The gold standard was an assurance, a commitment that your money was underpinned by something tangible, something of indisputable value. But soon, the gold shine began to tarnish. The very properties that made gold an ideal backing for money started becoming hindrances. It was heavy, making large transactions and long-distance trades cumbersome. Its supply was finite, limiting the expansion of economies. The world needed something more adaptable, more manageable. It needed an instrument of trust, not a commodity of value. Enter paper money. A medium of exchange light as a feather and as simple as the idea behind it. Initially, these were simple IOUs, promises to pay a certain amount of gold or silver on demand. The concept of paper money is not as modern as we might think. It was the Chinese, during the Tang dynasty in the 7th century, who first introduced the use of paper money. A revolution that marked the beginning of a new financial era. With the Silk Road connecting East and West, this innovation spread across the continents, reshaping economies and trade. The convenience it offered was undeniable. Transactions were easier, trade was quicker, economies could thrive. During the late 1600s, banks started issuing these pieces of paper as receipts for depositors. Holders could exchange them for their worth in gold or silver at any time. They were merely representatives of the precious metal stored safely in the bank vaults. As societies industrialized, the demand for money increased. And these paper receipts started changing hands, accepted as payment, and used as if they were money themselves. In the span of a few centuries, paper money began to dominate. The trust people placed in these IOUs became so ingrained, so accepted, that they started to forget about the gold that backed it. Think about it. If you could carry a light piece of paper instead of heavy gold coins, why wouldn't you? The convenience was undeniable. Paper money made transactions faster, easier, and safer. But this convenience came with a hitch. People were not trading in gold or silver anymore. They were trading in promises, a trust-based transaction. Every time a person accepted a paper bill, they were placing their faith in the system. They were trusting that if they wanted, they could walk into a bank and exchange that piece of paper for gold. Banks, in turn, began to realize that only a small fraction of depositors came to claim their gold at any given time. This led to the understanding that they could lend out more paper money than they had gold to back it up, as long as people trusted the bank enough to not demand their gold all at once. This was the start of what we call fractional reserve banking. In a fractional reserve system, banks only need to hold a fraction of their depositors' money in reserve, with the rest being used for loans and investments. For example, if a bank has $100 in deposits and the reserve requirement is 10%, it can lend out $90 and keep only $10 in its vaults. This system enabled banks to create money through lending. The most disturbing aspect of fractional reserve banking is the money multiplier effect. Imagine you're playing a game of pass the parcel, but instead of a parcel, you're passing around a dollar bill. That dollar bill gets handed from person to person. Now, let's say, each time it changes hands, it somehow duplicates itself. This, in essence, is the wonder of the money multiplier effect. When a bank gives out a loan, that money doesn't just vanish. It's spent on something, maybe a new car or a house. The person who receives that money, say a car dealer or a builder, then deposits it back in a bank. This new deposit is seen as fresh money, which can again be loaned out. And the cycle repeats. Just like that, the original deposit keeps bouncing around, growing and expanding each time it lands back in a bank. This game of loans and deposits is how banks don't just store our money, they actually create more of it. Imagine being at a magic show, captivated by each trick, but unaware of the illusion behind it. Our monetary system is a bit like that grand magic show, and the great illusion we're part of is fueled by something unseen yet profoundly powerful: trust. Every time you hand over a piece of paper we call money, for an object of real value, you're a part of that illusion. You trust that the next person will also accept that paper as having value. This shared belief in the value of money, something that's really just a piece of paper, is the cornerstone of our economic activity. But that trust isn't limited to the person you're buying your coffee from, or the friend you're sending money to. It extends beyond that. It's a trust in the banks where we store our money, in the governments who issue these pieces of paper, and the unseen financial systems that keep it all in check. But can we place unwavering faith in these banking institutions? Reflecting on recent incidents involving legal battles against banks, instances of banks themselves facing bankruptcy, the incessant rise of inflation, and the alarming collapse of entire economies, one might question the reliability of these central authorities. Evidently, it seems that banks and other government-endorsed centralized institutions may not be as trustworthy as we are led to believe. Functioning as a bank for the government and commercial banks, central banks hold a unique and significant role in the financial system. They are the guardians of monetary policy, controlling interest rates and managing the supply of money in an economy. Their decisions directly impact the value of our money, our borrowing costs, and even the health of our job market. One of the most significant, and often controversial, powers of a central bank is its ability to print money. By increasing the money supply, central banks can stimulate economic activity. It can help lower interest rates, encourage lending, and spur spending. It's like adding fuel to the engine of an economy. However, excessive money creation can lead to inflation, eroding the value of our money and causing prices to skyrocket. Take Venezuela and Zimbabwe for example, two nations that suffered the devastating effects of hyperinflation. In Venezuela, years of excessive money printing and poor fiscal policies resulted in a financial disaster. By 2018, the inflation rate exceeded 1,000,000%. Bolivars, once a symbol of wealth, became so worthless that people were using them as craft paper. The value of money evaporated, and with it, the trust of the people. Similarly, Zimbabwe faced an inflation rate so high in 2008 that it's difficult to comprehend, an astronomical 89.7 sextillion% per month. The government was forced to print $100 trillion notes, the largest denomination in history. Money was reduced to mere pieces of paper, devoid of any real value. Even the mighty United States isn't immune to the erosion of money's value over time. In fact, what you could buy for $100 in 1970 would require approximately $680 in 2023 due to inflation. In the year 2020, amidst the chaos of a global pandemic, the U.S. Federal Reserve took an extraordinary step. They printed a staggering $3.3 trillion in new currency. To put that in context, that's more money created in a single year than had been printed in the entire previous decade. It was an unprecedented move, a gamble, a desperate attempt to keep the economy afloat in a time of crisis. But actions have consequences. The impact of this money printing was immediately felt in the American economy. As the supply of money increased, the value of every dollar held by the public fell. The Consumer Price Index, an indicator that measures the average change over time in the prices of goods and services, rose by 4.2% in 2021. It marked the highest rate of inflation witnessed in the United States in over 30 years. The cost of living went up. Essentials like food, energy, shelter, all started costing more. The fresh bundles of money injected into the system were not free, they were paid for by every American, in the form of a hidden tax called inflation. The money you had yesterday could buy you less today. It was a stark reminder that when you alter the delicate balance of money supply, you tinker with its value, its purchasing power, and ultimately, the public's trust in it. Government-run money printing is arguably the biggest financial scandal of our time, one that operates in broad daylight. It's a process shrouded in complex financial jargon, away from the scrutinizing eyes of the general public. However, the implications of this process can be felt by every individual, in every corner of the world. The power to control money, its creation and supply rests with a select few. The central banks, financial policymakers, and government officials have the authority to increase the supply of money, directly influencing its value. With each additional dollar they print, the worth of existing dollars decreases, diluting the wealth stored in them. And who bears the brunt of this systemic depreciation? Often, it's the people at the bottom of the economic hierarchy who find themselves most impacted. Their savings diminish in value, their wages struggle to keep up with rising prices, and their dreams of financial stability become increasingly elusive. Understanding the nature of money, its constant loss in value, and the hands controlling its supply, it becomes clear that simply storing our wealth in the form of cash is not the most prudent strategy. With each passing year, the purchasing power of our savings diminishes, often unbeknownst to us, chipped away by the silent force of inflation. So, where does this leave us? Well, it's not all doom and gloom. It just means we need to think more strategically about how we preserve our wealth. For centuries, gold has been viewed as a store of value. It cannot be manufactured at will, its supply is finite, and its demand is virtually universal. Unlike paper money, gold's value doesn't diminish with time, instead, it often appreciates. Investing in gold can act as a hedge against inflation, helping preserve and even grow the value of our wealth over time. Likewise, real estate represents another time-tested investment. Property, by its very nature, is limited. No one can create more land. Thus, as populations grow and cities expand, the demand for property increases, driving up its value. Buying real estate, therefore, not only maintains the value of your money but also offers the potential for significant returns in the long term. So, instead of letting our hard-earned money lose its value sitting in a savings account, we need to actively invest in assets like gold and real estate that have a history of maintaining and even increasing in value over time. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Deep in Thoughts for more thought-provoking content.